Alright, Mohammed, Rob here. I'm going to go ahead and answer some of your questions. I'm finally getting around to doing this video. Thanks for your patience. The first thing that you were asking me about was directional harmony. Now, directional harmony, I guess a basic explanation or definition of it is your mind, breath, and body all coming together at the exact same time at any given point in any given movement. And I'm going to take a very, very basic explanation, or a very basic example, very simple move here to explain this. Okay, and I'm going to take basically a step punch, just stepping forward into a stance and punching an opponent. Very basic move, but the more simple it is, the easier it'll be to understand. Now, if I chambered the punch after I step and then I twist and then the punch comes in, the timing is not all coming together. It's not fluid. I'm not coming together at the exact timing that I need on this. Okay, when you're using directional harmony, you have to have backup mass or proper body alignment to start triggering directional harmony. And what that means is when I step forward to do this punch, the second my punch locks out, my body's completely lined up behind it, and my body stopped moving at the exact second that the punch unwinds and locks. So timing is also a factor in that. So if I was stepping forward and I step and punch before I twist, I don't get any power from that twist in this movement. You're ruining the harmony of your direction of motion. Okay, we also have forward momentum, which is if I start stepping forward and then stop my motion and then punch, I lose all of the forward momentum from that step, and again, you don't get directional harmony. So when I step forward and I punch, okay, and my step doesn't stop. It comes through the entire time. I'm getting power from my step forward. I'm getting power from the proper alignment of the mass of my body behind this punch. And you also noticed I'm breathing out at the same time as I do it. On top of that, then the whole mental aspect comes into play, where you're thinking realism. When I step forward and punch, I'm imagining an opponent standing in front of me and hitting them and following through. So that's a very basic example of directional harmony, but basically it's all of your timing and motion and everything coming together at the exact precise moment to maximize the efforts and effects of your movement. Okay, so moving on, the next thing you were asking about was elongating and shortening circles in Kenpo. That's definitely part of the bread and butter of the Kenpo system, and it gets into the upper echelon of refining moves that you've already learned. I'm going to take a real basic technique again, delayed sword. I've got a video posted on it, so if you want an advanced explanation of it, you can go over that video again. But basically, when the opponent grabs, okay, the technique or the base technique was taught to where I just pin the hand, drop back and block, do my little snap kick, and plant down and chop. That's the base move of the technique. Now, in the process of doing that, there's a circle made right here when this arm comes up and around to pin his hand to my chest. Now, if I elongate that circle a little bit, which means making it a wider elliptical oval shape, okay, that's when you get the catch or eye hook to the eyes prior to pinning. Okay, now when I step back and I chamber for my block here, there's another circle as this hand comes up and chambers to this point. Okay, if I keep that circle tight, okay, we're just bringing it up and we're not using any strikes or sequential opportunities. If I extend this circle, I could catch, and I could extend this circle again here, catching the face rather than just going straight to the block. So that's elongating circles. That's making your circles bigger. And in Kenpo, when you elongate circles, it slows down your motion because it's a bigger circle that your strike needs to orbit before it completes or hits the opponent. So as far as elongating circles go, it's usually only used to add an extra move in that you normally wouldn't be able to do unless you extended that motion or extend that circle a little bit. Okay? Like I said, the only disadvantage of that is the more you elongate that circle, the longer it's going to take or the slower the move is going to be. Now, in shortening circles, okay, in this process, okay, of bringing this circle up here, okay, and pinning his hand. If I shorten the circle instead of going all the way out here and just bring my arm up and in, it's a very, very fast pin. Okay, if I chamber this arm and block without doing the strikes and I make it a real short circle, okay, it's very we shorten that circle so it's faster. Okay, now I went ahead and grabbed a stick as an extension of my natural weapons to go ahead and continue explaining elongating and shortening circles. Now, if I take an eskrima stick here and start making a very wide, straight arm circle around my body and around my body like this, it's a very large circle, so you're going to get a real slow movement of circling it around. Now, as I start making these circles a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller and tighter, and then start using my wrist to move instead of my whole arm like this, what I'm doing is I'm shortening all of these circles so you get a much quicker, more refined motion. Okay. Now, one last explanation on this is the power adjustment when you go from a large circle to a small circle. If I take this stick and swing it all the way around like this, there's going to be a lot of power because it has more time to build up momentum. When I shorten the circle and make it smaller like this, these strikes aren't going to have as much power behind them. So you need to know when you're exploring a technique how much you can shorten a circle, you know, and not lose a lot of power. Notice how I'm moving the arm and the wrist to get power and shorten the circle versus all the way out like this or just doing it with your wrist. Okay, so if you elongate circles, it takes a little bit longer to do the movement, makes it more powerful. If you shorten the circles, it makes the movement a lot faster, but power is minimized a little bit on that. So hopefully that will get you started as a basic explanation of directional harmony and elongating and shortening circles. As we get into more advanced techniques, up into green or blue belt, green belt, brown, intermediate techniques and stuff, you're going to see this start to show up a lot more. So don't start playing with that on your techniques, but just know that there'll be better explanations and ways you can apply it later.